Okay, so in this recording, I'm showing um, Gaia Pro and GeNa Pro. And Gaia Pro is a tool for world building. So I use this world designer um, to create this world over here. And here you can adjust the sea level. Oh, I'm in play mode. So let's go over here. So it uses this thing called like stamps, and I guess that's common in like environment art. So essentially, what you do is you use different types of stamps: plains, valleys, lakes, mesas, hills, mountains, whatever. And these things have certain characteristics: spawn probability, high probability, and what they kind of look like in the back end is like this. These little like circles, and they kind of form together to create like unique terrain. And then each stamp is kind of randomized. They have a probability. Um, and then this jitter adds like that randomness offset, like it says. So the stamps aren't like this. They're kind of like spaced out in between and just makes it a little bit more chaotic in nature. So we're trying to make a mobile game. So I just used like their presets for that. And the result was this biome. And I used GeNa Pro's um, river spline and river flow tools to carve into the terrain here to create a almost naturally looking river. But this was done in literally it took maybe I don't know 2 minutes to do. And then there are rules that you can set to spawn certain things. So trees, I can quickly show an example. I have my tree spawner here, and I can shift click hopefully to visualize um, where the trees can spawn. And these small green dots represent where they can spawn. And the reason why they can't spawn here on this steep um, slope is because I set the rule so that it can't. Actually, it was default. I didn't set it, but um, I did modify them, and I like looked into why they weren't being able to spawn there. So yeah, in this like steep mountain curve, it's not gonna be able to spawn, but somewhere more flat, it'll be able to spawn in bulk. And there's also rules that I could set to not spawn under sea level. I didn't do that. In the town, I can spawn the town. I don't think I have any settings for it. Yeah, so the town will conform to the terrain shape, as you can see. Not there, it's relatively flat. There was an example over here. Yeah, right here. So you can see that I can set my town prefab to conform to the terrain shape, and GeNa does a good job of kind of snapping it onto the ground and then conforming it to whatever rotation it needs to be. So the last thing I was working on was actually applying this spawner to work with some of our game objects. And for our game, we're no longer using Mapbox API to move the character around, um, similar to how you would in Pokemon Go. But now we're testing creating in-game worlds and moving the player around in that space. So I saw a few tutorials. I created these two scripts from those tutorials, one being the runtime executor, which runs essentially just runs the runtime spawners in order, and it needs to run these things in order for a few reasons. For my case currently, it doesn't matter, but if I had a runtime spawner that was spawning trees first, I might spawn the trees first, and then the towns might um, spawn on top of the trees, which I don't want. So here I can actually visualize um, the trees are actively avoiding the houses. But if I were to build the houses first, then the trees, or if I were to build the trees first, then the houses might overlap with the trees. So in that case, it would matter. Um, what I was testing here in these little red gizmos, the gizmo spheres, was populating my enemy prefabs. I have a lot of scripts that they don't need here. But I imagine that our enemy encounters would trigger based on some sort of collision with the enemy, and the enemies would probably be patrolling various areas. Another cool thing about Gaia and GeNa is that I can also set spawn rules for my enemies. So for example, if I had a wolf, I can set it so it can only spawn near grass or trees. If I had a water monster, I could set it so it could only spawn underneath sea level. If I had a dragon that I wanted to spawn on the highest points of the map, I could set a threshold so that it could only spawn at a Y value greater than, I don't know, 20, 30, or whatever it might be. So with that said, I'm going to play this game and see how the spawning works, given all these different monsters that I've populated this spawner with. So let's go to game view, maximize this, random error, but oh, it looks like we are populated. So for this like basic demo, I imagine this would be the spawning area for the player, and I wish I could control the speed a little better. Yeah, there's a lot of monsters that have spawned kind of on top of each other, which wasn't what I wanted, but it's pretty cool. Let's get a big overview of the map. Looks really nice. So I think we're gonna have to do a few changes so that this can run on mobile, but for now we're just testing, so we can see how this works. Oh yeah, I also created this road system with GeNa that's super easy to do and turns out pretty damn well. It's kind of just carves into the terrain, like you can see here. And like you can clear out trees and other textures that you don't want to be there. Yeah, I think going this way looks better because the monsters are all facing one way. This guy's supposed to be a boss. But yeah, as you can see, it just looks much better with the post-processing that we didn't have in our game before, and this was just a preset that GeNa 2 had. GeNa 2 or GeNa Pro? I don't remember which one it was. Dragon we have, a bunch of our different monsters. We got a little wolf pup. Let's see. Oh, this place is cool. Lizard monster, little rhino that spawned on top of a boss. Golems, big wolf, scary dragons, mimic, more scary dragons, Charizard knockoff, big bad wolf, little minions hiding under a dragon. Big boys over here. Ooh. Naga. That's a tameable pet, actually. Go up this slope. Callus. More cool monsters. Cool world. Waterfall, river thing. And yeah, a few trees that actually were able to spawn here because the slopes were in line with the set requirements. So yeah, this is the current state of creating our new world. Thanks for watching.